So yeah, I'm assuming it's very painful. I mean, I've seen you walk. It looks like it's very painful for you to move around. Tell me about that.
Well, you know, as you can imagine, with wounds that extensive, with a lot of nerve damage, a lot of trauma, you know, they said that basically it's just going to hurt for the rest of my life, so it's something I'm just having to deal with and adjust to, because, I mean, there's the option of just taking painkillers to mask it, but I don't really want to do that for the rest of my life and become dependent on those, so it's really just kind of suck it up and do what needs to be done, you know?
Okay. Now, you just said that you told me that you had just gotten a job. Tell me about that.
Oh yeah, the Taco Bell up here at the north end of the mall just hired me. For several months, we've basically, at the end of each day when it starts to get dark, we would go there, grab something to eat and hang out until it got late enough that we could go wherever we were sleeping that night. And so they had gotten to know me real well, and I'm just kind of the type that when I would see something that needed to be done, I would just kind of get up and do it. Like, you know, if the dining room was dirty, I'd sweep it up or pick up the trash or collect the trays or whatever, just because, you know, they were being decent enough to let us stay around, so I always wanted to do something to make their life easier. And the night manager finally felt like, hey, if you're going to be doing this work, we might as well be paying you for it, and talked to the higher ups, and they decided, yeah, let's give him a shot, take him on. You know, if he's willing to work for free, he'll probably work for money.
Now, where is it that, tell me about the places that your wife and yourself have been staying.
For the last 6 or 7 months, we had been staying in a little hidden off place, kind of wedged between the Shopco and an empty lot there. Until yesterday, when some employees of neighboring businesses saw us leaving and told the police they were afraid that we were going to do something to them, causing the police department to come out and tell us we could no longer be there at night. And so we are still trying to figure out where to go in the night times. Last night we split up and went to different areas because neither one of us was comfortable with where the other was going. But, you know, in time we'll find another spot like the last one and hopefully not upset anybody at the next place. Although I can't imagine why anybody would be afraid of either of us. I mean, given I'm tall, but I mean, I'm not exactly physically threatening in my current condition.
Now, you said that, tell me about the housing situation that you are looking at now.
Our VOA caseworker got us approved for a program called Shelter Plus, which is somehow connected to the road home. I don't really know whether they oversee it or if it's just they get their candidates from there or what, because we always refuse to stay there because of all the wildness and the lack of sanitation and everything else that goes along with that place. But it's based on a vulnerability index that they do, which gauges, you know, your medical need, you know, how likely you are to be, like, say, beaten and raped, or, you know, whatever the case may be. There's a whole different set of criteria that go into it. But we scored really high on vulnerability, so we went right to the top of the list. And now we're just getting together the security deposit, and once we have that, they have an apartment for us up on, it's about 3600 South and about a half block east of State. It's a little one-bedroom apartment. They've already taken me to see it. It's a pretty nice little place.
Okay. Are you looking at that, at the way things are now, hopefully being able to bring your daughters back, or how do you see the future for yourself?
We don't know about that because we would have to get approval through the program to bring the kids to live there, and they won't even let us start going through that process until we've actually moved in. So we don't have any idea yet whether that situation would allow us to bring the kids back or not. But we wouldn't even try to until I'm working regularly enough and bringing in enough money that I can actually support them. Because while the program will pay the rent, there's still a lot of ancillary costs that go along with having kids in the home that it wouldn't make sense to bring them back if we can't take care of those costs.
Now tell me about the feelings you go through having to have your family split apart like that.
Well, it's gotten easier. At first it was really difficult because, I mean, you go from, you know, seeing your kids every day to the only contact you have is they're old enough that we can discuss things through rationally with them, and that makes it easier for all of us to deal with when we can sit down and say, okay, well, this is the current situation, this is what the outlook looks like, this is how things are progressing. Whereas with younger kids, it'd just be, Daddy, we want to come home and we don't understand, and that'd make it more heart-wrenching for everybody,
Right.
So with them being, in their middle teenage years, it makes it easier on all of us, but it's still not easy not being able to see your kids,
Tell me about a typical day in your life, the way it is now. What is it like? Step me through it.
Well, we wake up when the sun's up high enough that it's shining in our eyes. Get up, pack away the sleeping bags, find some place to hide them. If we have money, we'll go to McDonald's or someplace and grab a sandwich or something to eat for breakfast before heading out to try to make some more money for the next round of meals. And if not, we skip that process and just head straight out to whatever corner we're going to be on for the day. And then it's just do that until it gets dark.
So your wife is doing the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay, just in a different location?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a few blocks up the road there.
Now, how long were you working before all this happened?
I had always worked before this happened.
Okay. Which was like how many years?
16, 17 years.
Okay.
I mean, not in the same job, but if I didn't have one job, I had another,
Yeah.
Being in the restaurant business my whole life, it's always been easy to find work, because all I ever had to do was convince the manager to give me 10 minutes in his kitchen and I'd have a job.
Yeah. Now, what kind of, you were talking about, you have some good days where people are more willing to help, some days where people are complete jerks. Tell me about reactions that you get.
Well, reaction-wise, I get a lot of people that will stop and say, what in the hell happened to you? And I get a lot of people saying, oh, you're faking it, or, all kinds of different stuff that you can be pretty sure that they wouldn't want to hear if it was them. And a lot of it's so irrational that you can tell that it's motivated by something other than my actual situation.
Now,
monetarily, it's not nearly what the myth people have in their mind is. There's that kind of thought process that has been built up somehow that panhandlers make all this money, and that's just not the reality that we have encountered. I had always heard the same thing. All people panhandle make $100 a day, $200 a day, and I can honestly say we have never come close to $100 in a day between the two of us. There have been a few times where we've made enough in a day that we could go get a motel room, but even that's rare.
Now, tell me again, you were, you said people say you're faking it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show, here you are. It's obvious that you've suffered some very serious injuries.
Yeah, that's kind of my response, is if I was faking this, I'd be making millions of dollars in Hollywood, because they'd be paying a lot for somebody that could do that kind of a makeup job.
Yeah.
To make it look like there are chunks missing out of your legs when there really aren't, that would be some serious skill.
If you were to send a message to the people out there who are either in a similar situation, maybe someone who's close to it, or those who are far removed from it, or a combination of everybody, what would you tell them?
Probably two things. One, I would have a message for all the people that are basically scam artists, the people that claim to be veterans when they're not, which particularly pisses me off, or the people that claim they've got some physical disability they don't have and they're just lazy, or things like that. I would tell them, get a little bit of self-respect and pull your head out. And as far as the people that have absolutely no idea but still want to run their mouth, what does it really cost you to take a minute out of your day and stop and find out what you're talking about before you say something hurtful to somebody you don't even know?
Hurtful, like you were saying, people saying get a job.
Well, that was a very cleaned up version. People say things that boil down to, why don't you get a job or get a life or something like that, but the delivery is so personalized that you can't hardly help but for it to be hurtful.